Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Judith Koenig. I am a large animal surgeon and an equine sports medicine specialist at the Ontario Veterinary College. So my workday often starts actually quite early. We often start working at 7:30 in the morning. And for me, it is always very much depending whether I am the person responsible for emergencies or if I am the person on duty that admits elective appointments. Let me explain a little bit what the difference is. Like in general, when you're in equine practice as a vet, you are responsible for emergencies and you usually share that with your colleagues. It's very exciting being on emergency duty because you do not know in the morning what your day might bring. And very often it starts with a distraught phone call from an owner that has asked you to go and see their horse that might have had colic, which is probably the most common emergency that we see, which is really like pain of unknown origin coming from the abdomen or the belly. Most commonly, and these are cases that require immediate attention. The second most common one is that the horse gets hurt somewhere by like tearing open a leg or having a wound on its chest or something like that. So these are the cases where you need to calm the owner down and then give them instructions to not get hurt, and while trying to keep the horse calm. And you go there and you see the animal. And usually what I do is I listen to the owner as they are telling me what happened. I may ask them some questions, but at the same time, I actually focus on the horse to see how the horse is behaving while I'm speaking to the owner. And then I go on to examine the horse. And if it is a colic, there are certain things that you do with a colic. You work them up very thoroughly, but it doesn't really matter what the case is. But if the animal is very painful, you give them a painkiller first, and then it's a bit quieter to assess the horse. And if it's like a wound or some kind of trauma, you always make sure that the patient is stable first. Then you administer whatever medications are necessary, or you suture something or whatever is required in this situation. And then usually, if you're lucky, you have a veterinary technician that is working with you, and that technician will help you with assessing the patient, making sure you have all the medications and treatments that you need. But also very important, when you leave the farm and you go to your next farm call, then either your technician is driving and you write your assessment of the patient down. There's a lot of paperwork associated with being a veterinarian. Medical records need to be kept. That's also for us, for a licensing requirement, very important. And also for ourselves, it's important we keep really accurate notes and describe what we saw and what we treated the horse with in case we have to come back and see that horse, so that we can quickly look, similar to your family doctor when you go there. They keep accurate records too. And whatever tests you order, you have that all together. And usually as an equine veterinarian that goes from farm to farm, you will spend a lot of the time driving or have somebody with you that drives for you. And then on a farm, you work up your patients. And depending on your day, if you're on emergency duty, you normally spend your day rushing from one spot to another. And at the end of the day, depending if somebody, you are in a practice with more people where somebody actually relieves you at a certain time, or if you are working on your own, which is always more difficult because the expectations are from us that we are available 24/7. That's also something you need to be aware of in veterinary medicine, but particularly in equine practice, is nowadays the best way to work is with several people together so that you can share this duty to provide coverage. So on your emergency days, you will not have much time, but on your elective days, when you see appointments regularly and things like that, you can schedule your day whichever way you want. You need to be resilient. That's probably the most important part of being a veterinarian. You need to, on one side, not take it personal if the client, may it be small or large animal practice, is very upset and is difficult to deal with. So you need to be resilient to what kind of owner you meet. On the other hand, you need to be resilient because veterinary medicine is very expensive, and in your mind, you may have all kinds of treatments you would like to do and diagnostic tests you would like to do for this animal, but they cost a lot of money, and sometimes people cannot afford it. So you need to be resilient in the sense that you need to make do with what is available and is the best option for your patient and for the client's budget. That's probably the most important one. And you need to also be able to deal with loss. That's very important in our profession and often underestimated how hard it is. If you look at old veterinary movies that show how everything is wonderful, it is often not. It's often very heartbreaking. On the other hand, what's important is you need to have a good sense of humor, and you need to not shy away from hard work. That's probably the most important traits that you need: resilience, hardworking, good sense of humor, and you need to also know how to look after yourself. These are very important traits. What are the challenges? Well, I mentioned that already. The biggest challenge I find for me is still having to deal with situations where you try very, very hard to save an animal, and either it is not meant to be and it doesn't work out, and the animal is too sick and you have to put the animal to sleep. I find that is one big challenge. And the other big challenge is you're always working in a group with different people. And you are sometimes in a very high stress environment because you have a lot of emergencies or a lot of things to do. And other people are in the same situation. And I find that's the big challenge, is to keep the communication up and positive. That is another big challenge. Another aspect I should probably mention as a challenge is if you are not set up well, meaning if you are not set up with several veterinarians to share your duty, your days may become very, very long. And if you have family as well, then it becomes often challenging to bring everything under one umbrella. Having said that, if you're in a good team of people that you work with, it is all manageable. It's a good question. On one side, I have always loved horses and have looked in my younger years after a horse that I groomed. I wasn't financially able to afford having my own horse, so I got to look after the horse for somebody else. And that horse had all kinds of health issues and was quite heavy and needed a lot of attention. So I really enjoyed looking after him and pampering that horse. That was why I really liked horses, but I wasn't really sure which area of medicine I would pick. So I should say I wasn't sure whether I would like to do human medicine or veterinary medicine. That actually only got decided, or was decided for me, once I was in university, because I got to see what it is like to be in human medicine. And that was enough for me, seeing a busy emergency room and the people that came there, that I decided veterinary medicine is mine. The passion for horses was always there. Keep an open mind. If you are choosing to become a veterinarian, don't say from the get-go you only want to work with one species or you want to do one area of practice or something specific. Keep really an open mind. My biggest recommendation is veterinary medicine has an enormous amount of job opportunities. Like you can go from working in industry, over working in research, over working for the government, to actually working as a veterinarian. You need to decide for equine practice, what kind of practice is for you. And I would say if you have decided you want to become a veterinarian, pay really close attention to the basics. If you are intelligent, you don't, or smart, you can, and you know anatomy and physiology, you can arrive at all kinds of conclusions using that base knowledge. That is the most important one. If you're in a pre-vet program and you are planning to go into veterinary medicine, make sure you're really paying attention to the basics. They are going to help you throughout the rest of your life. There's two aspects for me to it. One is emergency medicine. Colics, particularly, if you see them, how they can be uncontrollably painful, and you are actually able to help them. That is one aspect. And the other one is, for me, making an owner actually that really loves their horse, making them happy, like that human animal bond. When you see that and you see how happy they are, both of them, when it works out, is for me very, very satisfying. Thank you very much to listening to me, and I wish you all the best should you choose to become a veterinarian or an equine veterinarian. But whatever you do, all the best to you.